Hey everyone. Right off the bat, I'm sorry if this video is a little hard or it's a little difficult to make or watch. I don't often make stuff like this, what can I say? I'm normally the happiest go lucky guy you could find on YouTube. But today things have just gone a little too far, friend faces. I'm sure if you've been watching this channel for a while, one of the faces that you see regularly here around the channel is the Clumsy King. Clumsy. Somebody who I thought was a friend, somebody that I could trust, somebody who was more than just someone I recorded videos with, someone who I could confide in, somebody who, it's just hard because I just didn't expect this behavior from him. And I just need to come clean and get this out in the air because it needs to be said, because he's been lying to me and all of you for far too long, and all of you in this community deserve to hear it because we deserve better from him. And to kind of set the scene, this all started years ago with him first introducing himself to me and our first recording session, and we kind of hit it off. We were really good friends. We had a lot of great banter, a lot of jokes at each other's expenses, as you do. Very common, he would make fun of my American accent. I would make fun of his Australian accent, oh no, my Oreo. And everything was good for a while, until he took it a step too far. He took it past the boundaries that I set. And it's important to have boundaries, and to have them disrespected like that by somebody who you thought you could trust is difficult to come to terms with. He started making jokes at the expense of my appearance, which is really tough with me because, I've struggled with my appearance for a very long time, and he would make jokes like, you could land an airplane on your forehead, man. Like a Boeing airplane. I don't even know specific airplanes, but he knew them. He would list them off in great detail on how they would have so much clearance to land on my forehead. And it, at first I understood because, being that he wasn't the funny one in the relationship, he had to resort to just crude humor a lot of the time. And I got that, I got that. But then it started getting worse, where after the recording sessions, he would just yell at me about most outlandish things. And it got to a point where I would only really talk to him when we were scheduling something to record with, and I would try to make sure that there was other people in the recording session so he couldn't just harp in on me. And I was fine doing that for a bit. I could stomach it up. I've had tough jobs before, and I've worked with people that I didn't truly like before, so it wasn't the end of the world. But then it all changed a few years ago when I learned that I wouldn't get to see custody of our joint custody YouTuber son Toho, whereas he was going to be coming to visit me in America, given that Toho is also Australian, until that I learned that Clumsy had kidnapped Toho and locked him in his basement. It was really tough to hear because given that we know that Australians are, it's a very tough legal procedure to get custody back, given the international status. So it looked like I would never see Toho again, but honestly, it's to whose surprise, really? Because Clumsy has been keeping a very, very dark secret for a very long time. And it's time that we talked about it. Because something like this, it can't stay buried forever. Me and Clumsy knew each other before YouTube. There, I said it. I'm sorry. We had communications for years before YouTube, actually. Given that Clumsy actually has quite a disturbed past, as might come to a surprise to many of you. I first spoke to Clumsy while he was in prison I was his pen pal while I was in high school, given that he is quite older than me and he's in his 40s now. It was a program we did where we would write to international prisoners, and it was good for both parties, you know. We got to see into a different culture and how their system worked, and they get to have a friend face, if you will. You see, Clumsy went to prison for a long time, and we thought he got the help he needed when he was there, because the things he did to get there were just deranged. He would dress up as the Riddler from Batman and just run around to people on the street and yell, "Blue Skidoo, look at my poo," before throwing his feces at them. And it went on for years before he was finally stopped and apprehended. And, you know, given that he was in prison for so long, I thought, you know, that was behind him. You know, it was all behind him. It was just a thing of the past, and he was reformed. You know, I thought our connection, our writings, our friendship would help in that, you know. But it's seeming more and more every day that past is rearing its ugly head, and that behavior is coming to light again. Because recently, Clumsy has started some cult behavior, whereas he's recruiting people to join this strange cult, and I don't really know what they're doing. And I just wanted to see my son so bad. I wanted to see Toho so bad that I was willing to look past all of these red flags, and I booked a secret flight to Australia. But when I got there, Toho was nowhere to be found. Instead, Clumsy invited me into his basement, and I was surrounded by cultists. They started chanting, "Hey, friend faces." And before I knew it, it was the next day, and I was missing a kidney. I don't think I'll ever be the same after that. So I went to the American embassy, and I left. I left without seeing my son and without one of my kidneys. And you know, even after all of that, I was willing to let the past settle and just try and get Clumsy the help he needed, because he needed help. But then the final straw happened that broke me. Me and Clumsy had a confidential, private conversation about whose cake was juicier. Of course it was mine. He's as flat as a board. Are you kidding me? And I have a badump-a-dump. I have a boodonkshious booty, okay? But there was only one way to prove that. So he sent me a picture of his behind, and I sent one of mine, and obviously I was more caked up. And I thought that those pictures would just live in private forever, until he started releasing those confidential pictures of my butt, just waving it around like it was nothing, like it wasn't sent in the privacy of our own DMs. And that was just too much for me to handle. All of this has gone too far, and I am officially voicing that concern to the public, because you all should know. And you should all know this. I'm going to settle this once and for all. Me and the Clumsy King are going to wrestle in a kiddie pool full of mud. Winner take all. Winner take Toho. And we're going to settle this once and for all. So this is my calling out to you, Clumsy King. You need to do better, friend face. Legally, this all was an April Fool's joke, by the way. None of this is true. None of this at all. I might fight Clumsy still, but none of this is true, legally speaking.